Welcome back to The Explainer, brought to you by Forge College. So, last time, we were mapping out our digital real estate, right? Going through the whole domain registration and resolution process. Well, today, our goal is actually a little bit different. We are essentially hiring robot security guards for all that digital real estate. We're going to dive right into API key management for Solana APIs, basically figuring out exactly how we secure our machine-to-machine interactions. Here's our engineering schematic for today. We're going to cover the machine access problem, generating a secure key, the art of safe storage, seamless key rotation, revocation and kill switches, and finally, wrapping up API security.
Section 1. The machine access problem. Why humans and robots need different passes.
Okay, let's dive right into this. You know that sign-in-with-solana is just a fantastic system. Think of it kind of like a biological fingerprint. It's intimately tied to a human user who is actively sitting there clicking buttons to prove ownership with their wallet. But you know your automated background workers and servers? Yeah, they need a completely different solution. API authentication is basically a VIP backstage pass for a robot. It lets a machine perform its specific, isolated job without a human needing to literally sit there and sign every single request. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. If your robot assistant accidentally drops its VIP backstage pass in the middle of a public server, well, you absolutely need a robust system to manage it.
Section 2. Generating a secure key. Cryptographically strong beginnings.
So, when we actually sit down to build our command line script to manage these passes, we begin with a cryptographically strong 32-byte secure random secret. Now, I want you to pay attention to the number 43. Why 43? Well, when we take that raw 32-byte secret and run it through a converter, it turns into a URL-safe base64 string that is exactly 43 characters long. That neatly packaged, highly transport-friendly string, that's what's going to serve as our actual API key.
But wait, before we even think about saving that key anywhere, we have to establish the absolute golden rule of backend security. Never, ever store raw secret material in plain text. Literally, never. Doing that is basically like writing your physical bank vault code on a bright yellow sticky note and just casually leaving it on a table at a crowded coffee shop. It is an absolute disaster waiting to happen.
So what exactly do we do instead? Well, we use an HMAC, or a salted hash. This is a cryptographic verifier computed with a server-side pepper that essentially creates this mathematical shadow of the key. It lets our server completely verify that the key is correct without actually knowing what the original key was. A really great little rule of thumb to keep in your back pocket is this: hash it, don't stash it.
Let's move to Section 3. The art of safe storage. Drafting the database schema.
Okay, now that we've hashed our key, we need a place to safely stash the metadata for our script to reference later on. Thinking about the schema for our API keys table, what do you think is noticeably absent? The secret itself, no secret in there. Instead, we store a UUID identifier, the HMAC verifier we just talked about, and crucial audit metadata, like timestamps. This specific schema ensures that the raw 43-character secret is displayed to the human operator exactly once. If they lose it, oh well, time to generate a new one, because we are certainly not keeping a backup copy for them. And honestly, that is exactly the level of strict discipline we encourage students taking courses at Forge College to implement.
Moving right along to Section 4. Seamless key rotation. The atomic two-step dance.
So eventually, every single key gets old. This atomic two-step rotation process takes what could be a potentially chaotic server event and makes it incredibly elegant. It's something students in Forge College programs always love building. First up, you generate the brand new key. Second, you set a brief overlap window, say maybe 5 minutes where both keys actually work. And third, after that window closes, the old key gets revoked. That overlap grace period is absolutely the secret sauce here, because if you just instantly kill the old key, any API requests your robot is currently making mid-flight will just abruptly crash. The grace period ensures a totally smooth baton handoff with literally zero downtime.
Section 5. Revocation and kill switches. Pulling the plug on compromised keys.
But hey, what happens if your robot's VIP pass isn't just old? What if it's actually been stolen? When a compromise happens, you do not have 5 minutes to politely hand off a baton. No way. You need an immediate, uncompromising kill switch to pull the plug right then and there. So the crucial point is this specific piece of code logic. Every single time your API receives a request, it must verify the hash, yes, but it must also explicitly check that the revoked @ timestamp in your database is entirely null. The second you detect a stolen key, your script populates that timestamp, and instantly your server slams the door shut on any further requests trying to use that pass.
And finally, Section 6.
Wrapping up API security, the operational workflow.
Let's just zoom out for a second and look at the whole architectural blueprint we've just built together. Here are your absolutely core takeaways for securing machine-to-machine authentication. Number 1, isolate your API keys completely from human wallet sessions. Number 2, remember, hash it, don't stash it. Store verifiers only. Number 3, always rotate your keys using an atomic grace period for a seamless handoff. And number 4, keep an airtight audit trail of every single generation, rotation, and revocation, just so your incident response team knows exactly what happened and exactly when it happened. Which leaves me with just one final question for you. Are you ready to diagnose token lifecycle problems and track audit trails in a live incident? Because that is exactly what we're going to be tackling in our next debugging lesson. Until then, be sure to head over to forge.college to learn more about this subject and really dive deeper into our Web3 development tracks. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep building securely.